Okay, so re-outline my whole hunting memoir with me. Woo! Should kind of tell you who I am first and what my project is, and then we're just gonna jump right into this thing and actually have to re-outline, restructure, and put in a new timeline for my book. So, hi, hello, welcome. My name is Array Rasmussen, and I'm currently revising my hunting memoir, which I've kind of titled The Adventures of an Outfitter's Daughter for the moment. I am hoping to pursue traditional publishing, so that title is obviously temporary. That's the title that I love, and so that's what I've been sticking with as I describe it. Currently, I've kind of been describing my book as a collection of short stories demonstrating the adventures my dad and I have been on since he bought his big game outfitting business back in 2008. And, you know, you just struggle along with me as I go through my own issues of gun shyness, self-doubt, and, you know, just dealing with literal and figurative bumps in the road as we're hunting. But as I was reading through some feedback I got from one of my beta readers, I was realizing basically that I need to restructure the whole thing. It's not that I didn't 100% see it coming, because this is a thought that I have thought about with my book. Initially, it's gone through a lot of different stages. Initially, I had the book starting when my first hunt was, you know, coon hunting with my dad when I was 5. That's where I had initially started it and had listed out hunts from there until the present day at that moment. And just throughout time, I've just like, well, if it's The Adventures of an Outfitter's Daughter, that's pre-before, and that doesn't count. So I cut that out. I mean, I still wrote all of the chapters for that. That was part 1 of my book. And then part 2 was like from when he had his business until I graduated college. And then like the last chunk, part 3, was me cracking down and trying to get like a dream bear in general for me. I wanted to impress my dad, and like there was just this drive to do that. And it was very evident through the current story that that is kind of the main plot point. And so I'm gonna have to restructure it now. I think I'm gonna cut out any story that's not bear related. I maybe might leave 1 or 2, but I think the main point of the story is that the first story starts with me going hunting for the very first time. Like, I've been begging my dad to take me bear hunting since he started taking me deer hunting at like 7, and then he didn't take me bear hunting till 9, so like 2 years I was begging to go, and he finally took me after he bought his business, and we were in a completely new area. And I got to my first bear tree and I made him shoot it, and I just like, that hunt started that itch for me to want to kill my own bear, and like I just fell in love with bear hunting. So from there, just kept going hunting and hunting, and there was just this common like need and desire within myself to keep bear hunting, to do better each time. Sometimes I did and sometimes I did not, and so you could see it throughout this book. I just need to make that the center point of my story, and so I'm going to work on doing that by re-outlining, restructuring the timeline, and going from like that point and doing other things. So kind of with that, let's kind of talk about my revision plan before I jump into draft 3, because I just finished up draft 2 at the end of March, and it is currently May, I think 10th, no 11th, something like that. It is May. Maybe I'll add it here. With that, my current revision plan is to do these things. I'm going to re-outline, restructure, redo the timeline, and then I think I'm going to reread the whole thing myself and then do a revision checklist of everything that needs to be fixed within each chapter, what I personally think. And then I'm going to go in and add to that checklist what I believe also needs to be fixed from the beta readers' feedback, and add that to my checklist. Before I actually start draft 3 and go through that revision checklist, I'm going to add in the new scenes I want to add in, because I think there is a story that needs to be added, because I'm going to be cutting out stories that don't include bear hunts. I think there's like 6 of them. So I mean, it's a lot, but I mean, my book is currently like 80,000 words. So I mean, it can be cut down. It's a hunting memoir. I know that my audience is going to want a shorter book, because guys like shorter books. So it's like not going to hurt my book too much by cutting all that out. But I feel like there needs to be one added towards the beginning, and then maybe potentially towards the end, but I don't know if it will for sure need that one, or if I could just, you know, tweak some of the other ones that are not about bear hunting, but you know, there's still that need underneath this hunt, that still drive to want to get a bear, maybe compare or something. I don't know quite yet about that, so we're gonna get into that more. So I'm gonna add those and cut those that I think need to be added. So different chapters might need to be added or taken out. So I'll do that, and then I will actually start draft 3 and go chapter by chapter and fix what I need to, and then I will be hopefully done with draft 3 at that point. It's a lot. It's hard not to like be too stressed about how much I need to fix, but I am just taking it all in stride. I just have to remind myself it's all for the better of my book, so there's nothing wrong with that. Despite the mountain of work I have ahead of me, I'm gonna push through it and work on making the story as good as I can. By doing that, I'm gonna, you know, restructure it, re-outline, redo my whole timeline. I think we're just gonna cut to doing that so I don't just talk your ear off. If you have any further questions about kind of any of that, feel free to drop them below. I think I'm gonna start with my timeline first. Did do some stuff while I was on my lunch break and on my breaks at work today, because like I was reading through that feedback over the weekend and then again today, and it like just was churning in my mind over and over again that this needed to be fixed. And so I went through that 20 chapter outline. That's currently what outline I'm going to use for my book, is the 20 chapter outline. Currently my book is 27 chapters, but I'm going to cut all those chapters out, maybe add a couple. So it might be, I think it's still going to end up being a little over 20 chapters, but that's the outline I'm going to use. I added like little notes of fitting those chapters in, but I think I still need to tweak it a little bit more and actually put more details in. But before I just add into that outline, I think I'm going to do my timeline first. I do have some outline notes I do put in it, which I'll get to in a second. I'm just going to do the timeline and then the outline, and then I will probably redo my boards up here. That's kind of why I'm up here and not sitting at my desk. So I have a lot to do, obviously. Let's just get to it, and I will just give you any other information as we go. Let's start working on this timeline. Okay guys, so let's just get right into it. I already did the first chunk of the timeline. Here I went in and added the date, so the month and the year, and then what chapter it is. Obviously is chapter 1, so that's what's starting it. And then I went in, added the age of how old I am, how old my dad is, were the protagonist and the antagonist. So those are the two main characters. And then I added what is going on in my life. So in this one, it's my first year in a new town, so Orfino, and I'm homeschooled. I'm in 5th grade. I hated history and math at the time. I've been begging to go bear hunting for years, which I could probably add for 2 years if I can spell, for 2 years. And so I just had this desire to see my first bear. That is what's going on in my life. And then I added the dog. So in this story, the two main dogs in it are Molly, who's 7 years old, and Smokey, who's 7 years old. And then I added what's going on in the story. So basically the summary of what's going on in this specific chapter. And so in this one, I get to see my first bear tree, and I have my first bear killed. So this is a turning point for me. It is what pushed the itch to get my own bear. As I put it in here, bear hunting had locked her long and tight claws into me. The thrill of chasing a bear around with the dogs and dad in the backwoods of Idaho, too awesome to say no to. I couldn't wait to go again and figure out what other adventures dad and I could find ourselves in the midst of. So I could probably tweak this a little bit more specifically about bear hunting adventures dad and I are going to get into, and when will I be able to get the chance to be able to get my own bear. So that is what's going on in the story. I added that, and then what the plot point is. So this is basically, like I said, setting the stage for my itch to get my own bear, and is the start to my love bear hunting. It introduces the main characters, obviously dad and me, and hints at my want to impress dad as his hunting buddy. That's also a big plot point. So I did also add notes, which, you know, this is a timeline, but it's kind of like a timeline outline smushed together. Just a place to keep overall notes in general about what's going on in my life. I added the notes, and in this one, obviously I didn't cuss yet because I was 9 years old. I was very eager to bear hunt, obviously. Still new to some things about hunting, specifically skinning and gutting a bear. I hated snakes. I mean, I still hate snakes, obviously. I had smaller legs, so I tended to walk slower in general, but I also, at that age, I walked really slow into trees and walked really fast out because, like, I kind of drug my feet walking in because it was usually a long hike somewhere, and then on the way out, I was happy to be back to the truck to eat a snack or just be back home. Those are some notes, and then I gotta make sure that the language matches my age, so it might need to be more choppier and the grammar not as good because I'm obviously 9 and I don't think about that stuff when I'm that age. And reiterating that I'm in a new area and that I have no sense of direction. I still have no sense of direction, but that's besides the point. Anyways, and with that being said, that's kind of what I had set up for basically timeline / outline. And I am just gonna go through the next chunk. For chapter 2, it is June 2010. At that point, I was 11. And my dad was 2010, so he would have been 30. My keyboard is very sticky. I need to get a new one, I just don't want to. Okay, so I added my age already. So what's going on in my life? I am 11, so 7th grade. Don't come for me. My math skills is not what I am known for. Still homeschooled. But did start playing sport with the local school. I guess I should just open my book so that I know what is going on. Okay, chapter 2. My sister's also in this chapter, and she would be 8, almost 9. There's a lot of tension between my sister and I at this time. We don't get along basically at all. So what else is going on? I'm a little more comfortable with Dad's hunting area, but still getting to know the roads and everything. Okay, so there's that, and I think that's good for the moment of what's going on. The dogs for this one, we have Molly, Debo. Debo's 4 years old. I do say I'm 10 in this. And Shadow. Oh, Chance is in this too. He's 6 years old in this chapter. Little Blue. She's 2 years old as well. That is the main ones mentioned in this story. And Molly would be 9 years old. So what's going on in the story at this point is my sister Alexia joins Dad and I on a summer bear hunt training the dogs, and we end up running a synonym. I did not spell that right in any sort of way. And Alexia and I struggle to keep Shadow on a leash. Okay, that's basically the main idea of what is going on with this story. And the plot point with this chapter specifically, I am kind of reinforcing the idea in myself that I'm learning that not every hunt goes according to plan, but that doesn't mean it's a wasted hunt. Sometimes it'll make way for other formative experiences. Like within this one, I am bickering, yes, with my sister in the beginning, but in the end we come together, we bond over this hunt, and we have fun together, even though we struggle throughout most of it. That is kind of the plot point I'm kind of driving with this specific chapter. I will probably try to hone it in a little bit better within the outline with some more details. This will kind of be a good one-stop shop for things within this timeline, just to have these sort of points. So I'm adding it as I go. Some notes. I don't really know if I have too many I can actually add for this. Okay, so while I was adding the notes, I just want to still reiterate the fact to myself that the language needs to match both of our personalities within this chapter and our ages, and that the hate of snakes is also mentioned in this chapter. I did remember, and then I'm still grasping a sense of direction in this new area, obviously. What's going on in the notes and stuff and the plot points are probably going to intersect a lot, so I might trim this down on later. But that's what I'm wanting to make sure I'm adding in here as well. But I also added that when I was going through this, I was like, yeah, well, I should also mention in the plot point that I'm using the differences between my sister and I's views on hunting to, reinforce my love for bear hunting and my hope to, get my own bear like Dad did in that first story. That is kind of what's going on within that specific chapter in the timeline. I am not doing a very good job of making this an actual timeline, besides making sure, I'm adding the month and the year and how old I am, what's going on specifically in my life, and the dogs, their own timeline. I think I'm just gonna slowly get through all of these chapters and add all of this information, and then I will check in with you when I finish this. Whether that's tonight or tomorrow, I won't know for sure. But that is what's going on, and I will see you as I wrap this up. I'm hoping to get it done tonight, but it is also already 8 o'clock. Oh, it's 8 o'clock, so I'm sure I'll get through probably maybe 5 chapters, and then I will come back to this tomorrow. Maybe I'll get it all done, who knows? But I'm just gonna start chugging through this, and I will update you later. Bad traffic and a waste of time. When you were there to hold my hand, but I've had it with the 405 since you said I'd missed my last chance. But Okay guys, I obviously did not get to writing any more last night. I literally stopped filming and my fiance pulled up, so I had to make dinner and do all those sorts of things, and literally didn't get to sit down and relax until 9 o'clock. So it was a good thing I stopped at that point. But anyways, I did in fact get up this morning and work on the outline a little bit this morning. Timeline, sorry, it's basically kind of all mushed together. So I worked on it this morning and then I worked on it on my lunch break at work, so I've gotten quite a big chunk done. I have the last 6 chapters to get through, so I'm going to work on that while walking on my walking pad. I told myself I was going to work out at the gym tonight, and then I did not want to go, and I was like, I really want to get this done and not have to worry about it for the weekend. I compromised and was like, well, then I'll just walk on my walking pad and finish this up. So for the next hour, I'm going to walk my walking pad and finish up this timeline. I don't know if I'll get to actually doing the outline this week or not, because I leave to go out to hunting camp on Thursday and it's Tuesday, and tomorrow I need to do some cleaning. I need to go get dog food and pack for Thursday, because I literally will get off work at 5:30, turn around, come home, get the car ready and leave, because it's a 4-hour drive. Don't know how much I will get actually done with the outline in itself. The thing is, I kind of already have one and there's elements of it in this timeline as well, but I think I'm still going to do a whole new document and label it outline and put my actual plot pieces that I've pulled from the 20 chapter outline I did and added into this as well, and just kind of flesh it out a little better and make the outline for my book my outline and not just, you know, the template of the 20 chapter outline. So I think I'm going to tweak it a little bit more. I'm just going to jump right into working on it. Have my setup all ready to go and my walking pad. Probably just going to go until my walking pad turns off, which is an hour. So I'm going to do that, and then I will have to cook dinner and reset for the evening again. Hopefully finish this up, maybe start the outline if I get done early, and then go from there. Let's just get to it. It feels like it's like Wednesday already and it's only Tuesday, and I have to remind myself. And like I was talking to my boss about it at work, like I'm like, it's Wednesday? No, it's Tuesday. And it feels like it was so long ago that I decided I need to re-outline, but it was literally yesterday morning, and I'm to the point where it's like eating at me that I just need to put it to paper. So I want to finish this. So I'm gonna finish it and then move on from there. So let's get to it. Okay guys, I officially finished the outline already now too. So now my timeline and my outline are both done, and I think that's all I'm going to focus on in this video so far. But I did want to kind of go over what I did with the outline since I did with the timeline. Basically I already had a 20 chapter outline set up for myself before I did my timeline. Pulled that into a new document and structured it slightly different. Did it as chapter plot point outline, and with that it just means that I have my theme is the very first thing in this outline, and then I go through all the chapters. I think there's like 20 so far. It might change obviously, but with that I have what the plot point for that chapter should be from the 20 chapter outline as kind of like the title, and then I actually have the title of the chapter, and then below it I had the plot point within that chapter. And so it was just kind of basically, like I said, what this is. It's a chapter by chapter outline with the plot points. So it's just the plot points for each chapter in my book. It's basically just extending this with the chapter titles and everything on it. And I did just rework my theme for my story though too. I've kind of just weaned it down to the fact that it is this. After begging to go bear hunting for 2 years straight, Maria's dad, Andy Rasmussen, a big game outfitter based in Idaho, finally takes her for the first time at age 9. But little did he knew that he'd bring to fruition a love so strong for it that it set her on the path to spending every spare moment possible for the next decade and a half to try and get her dream black bear. That's kind of what I have as the theme at this moment. So I've just kind of boiled it down to that. It might still change, obviously. It's already changed several times as I've gone through the last 2 drafts and as I'm prepping for this next draft. So that's kind kind of what the theme of my story is, and so I just kept that in mind, and everything that I have done to this point. Started a new page in this specific outline and basically just did the main plot points of my story and listed it out in a number format. Basically, like the theme, which I already said, getting hooked on bear hunting and wanting to kill my own, is basically what is introduced in the first chapter, and then like I have to wait until I'm old enough to be able to kill my own bear, because in Idaho at that time I was not able to kill any big game until I was 12, and I was 9 when this story starts. So there's that wait time, and you get my childhood background a little bit, and then it kind of just progresses from there. But I feel like this is kind of what I just needed overall, was to pull out the points of what my story is about. I've been trying to figure it out for each chapter, but I think I just need to know what it is for the story and then expand on it within each chapter as I go. So boiled down my current draft to the chapters that it needs to be. So I took out all the hunts that were not bear hunts. It cut it down from like 80 something thousand words to 65 some thousand words. So it's quite a bit. It's also a hunting book, and I know it should probably stay on the lighter side anyways, because a lot of guys don't like a lot of long books, and that's going to be my main readers. So I'm always keeping that in mind with this story. However, like mentioned yesterday, I still have a couple chapters I need to add in. I feel like there should be another. I only have one story where I'm waiting to be old enough to shoot a bear. I'm so young at that point. There's not a lot of those hunts that I remember. So I think I'm going to think on that a little bit more and see if I actually need to add another story right there. And then I need to add one big huge chapter or break it up into a couple of small ones. But there's 3 stories basically, but they're within the same time frame that I've kind of titled together. And it's basically the rising tensions of this story that needs to be added. So it's kind of filling in that gap of some of the stories that I cut out right about this time, because they were like turkey hunts and my first deer and that stuff. But with my main theme of the story, you know, being focused on getting my dream bear, that's kind of just what it's saying. Like, I'm trying to impress my dad. I'm trying to get an awesome bear. I'm just trying to do all these things, but I still want to get, in other terms, like a trophy bear, but I try not to say that. It's kind of hard because, you know, when you say that sort of thing, people take offense. And that's kind of why I've had a hard time narrowing my theme of my whole memoir within this topic. But I mean, that is what I've centered my life on when I was hunting, was wanted to get a big bear, to impress my dad, to impress all of his friends. Awesome bear that I could brag about. And bear hunting has always been my favorite. Like, I love bear meat. We eat the crap out of it. Within this whole thing, it's just hard because it's a sensitive topic to a lot of people and they don't like it. But also, I feel like there's not enough representation of it too. So I'm just trying to keep that in mind. Like, I'm sharing my story. It's not somebody else's, and I shouldn't have to conform my whole story to fit somebody else's narrative. So there's just a lot of things that I do juggle with my book, and that has been part of why I didn't want to hone in on this. But like I had mentioned in the beginning of this video, my beta reader pointed out it is kind of clear that it is. Like, I had it already as a subplot, but not the main one. And so I think I've just been teetering too much on it half being a memoir and half being like a hunting adventure book. I think a lot of it is because I want the book specifically to be like within actual action scene hunts, like not just me telling a bunch of sob stories and stuff. I like wanted it to be an actual hunting book, but I also need to have a good story within the book itself. Yeah, there's just a lot with it, and I've just been trying to hone it in better. I think I've gotten it to the point that I like it. This is going to be good for now. I try to take a break from it. I wouldn't be surprised if I do mess with it this weekend or tomorrow on my lunch break. My biggest thing right now is I'm trying to debate if I want to write that new chapter in now before I reread the whole book and make my revision checklist, or read through it and make my revision checklist. It's just kind of hard to decide how I want to do that. I know that if I do write it, I want to write that before I actually start technically draft 3. So those new drafted words actually get revised within draft 3 and aren't just new compared to everything else. There's a lot going on right now, but I think by doing these steps, it's going to help my story out a lot. Definitely more of a discovery writer, and that is delayed my progress with this book, but I can't be too mad because I want my story to be the best that it can, and that's going to take time. It's going to take more writing experience for me. Like, I'm, you know, honing my writing craft, my tone, my voice, and all those things. Just trying to keep that in mind. mind when I like keep stretching on and on with time with this, because I started this back in 2022, you know, and it's 2025. Like, it'll be 3 years since I started this in August. I just have to keep that sort of stuff in mind. My next video is either probably gonna be me rereading my whole book and doing my revision checklist, or me drafting those new chapters. Honestly, I don't have time to draft anything until like the first weekend of June, so I think I'm gonna put that off. I'm just gonna have to buckle down, read the whole book again, and start my revision checklist. I will do that for the next 2 weeks of May. Take kind of this weekend off, maybe not. Maybe I'll end up reading my book. I don't know. I'm still waiting on my other beta readers' feedback. I only technically have one feedback. I don't know if the other two are actually going to give me feedback or not, but I know I have another one, so I should have at least 2 beta readers' feedback. And I do feel bad that while she's finishing up, I've kind of restructured the whole thing already. I still want her thoughts about everything and to make sure it also is in line with what I'm going to do. But I can talk about it with her this weekend and hopefully get her pushed off to finishing what she's doing. But I don't want to rush her too much. Like, I want some good feedback. I'm going to stop chatting your ear off. If you liked any of my content, want to hear any more about my story or about me in general, feel free to stick around, subscribe. I will see you in the next video. And if not, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.